It has been 2 weeks since I have last casted a game of StarCraft 2. How crazy is that? I've honestly missed it. It's time for a Terran versus Zerg today, though, a best of 3. We're in the bottom right-hand corner. You know him, you love him. We have the highest ranked StarCraft 2 player in the world. He's considered to be the greatest of all time. He's the world champion, the current world champion, that is, of StarCraft 2. We're looking inside of the main base of Serral. That's how he pronounces his own name. His opponent in this best of 3, playing in blue, one of the highest ranked South Korean Terran players. We have none other than Ryung. Now, this particular series was played over in Krefeld in Germany. So a best of 3 series played at HomeStoryCup, an offline tournament. And I figured this would be, the perfect way back into the game. I mean, I've been watching a little bit. I have been obviously uploading casts, but I prepared those videos in advance. Same for the roguelike campaign on the second channel that I've been publishing over there. I've recorded all of those episodes in advance because of my ear operation. And we're actually also, well, expecting the baby to arrive over the next couple of weeks. So I did already, before the ear operation, prepare quite a bit of content to make sure that I can continuously post. Even when I might be, unable to, but the doctor gave me the clearance this morning. I had a checkup, and honestly, I feel so much better than I did 2 weeks ago, man. 2 weeks ago, I was not feeling too hot. But right now, I think it's time to get back into some daily StarCraft 2. Until the baby arrives, that is. And then I guess I'm, once again, gonna be a bit of a mess, and my schedule is gonna be all out of whack. Anyways, it's gonna be a very quick spotting pool here for Serral. I thought for a second maybe this is gonna be some sort of cheese. But this is looking... he did leave 2 drones in gas. Okay, this is looking like a pretty normal, very safe build for Zerg. But the fact that he's leaving 2 drones in gas does make me wonder if maybe he's got something cheeky prepared against Ryung. Now, I selected this particular series because, you know, it's a best of 3, which I think is a nice way to ease back into it rather than like a super long best of 7 or whatever. But also, Ryung usually plays very nice macro games. So I'm not exactly sure if Serral just doesn't want to play the macro game. If he's a little bit concerned about playing the long match instead. But yeah, he's certainly starting off with what looks like a link flood right now. But I'm not sure what the extra gas is for. He mined about 100 extra, pulled out at 92 though, so that's not enough for a lair. Bit of a head-scratcher of an opener here for Serral. No third base yet. He's mostly adding on some links, but now going back to droning. I guess he wants to do a run-by, because this is a scoutless opener from Ryung. I guess he wants to do a run-by when, like, the first 2 Hellions pop out, or something along those lines. But this is certainly something that is a little bit risky for the Zerg. I'm expecting a drone down to the low ground, yeah, to still go and build up that economy. No, he decides to commit right away with link speed. Okay, let's see. Serral needs to make sure that he actually gets value out of this particular link opener, because otherwise he's in quite a bit of trouble. No second supply depot, though, on top of the high ground, and the links do swoop in. What's kind of funny here is that I was questioning making this many links, and now I'm questioning whether or not he should have not made more. This is a very conservative Zergling flood. Killing 6 SCVs, though, is definitely good. That is going to be enough to justify this opener. Funky opener, though, from the Zerg, because the problem you run into, right, if there is an SCV scout, if there is a normal Reaper scout, you run into a world of issues, and those Zerglings likely would have done nothing. So now we end up, sacrificing about 10 Zerglings or so, right? Like, we have one of them, I guess, surviving, or maybe 3 of them surviving? No, it's just the one. And then we did kill some SCVs here. I mean, in this particular instance, it is certainly a nice start for the finisher, but it could have worked out horribly. I wonder what Ryung is going to do right now in the second game of this series, because I highly doubt that he's going to open up Scoutless yet again. It's Mech. Oh, okay, sure. We're going straight into 2 additional factories. So, triple command center, triple factory, straight into Terran Mech. Now, as you probably know, Serral hasn't been playing in a whole lot of tournaments lately. It's honestly been ever since, like, the World Cup was played, which is quite a while ago at this point. Serral has participated in very few tournaments, and from what I understand, he has been playing. It's not because he's been slacking. Maybe he took a little bit of a break, a little bit of downtime, but He has been doing a bit of traveling. He did go to the Thunderfire event recently in mid-January to participate in that event in China. He had a pretty decent showing, but nothing amazing. So it is a... yeah, it is a bit of a question mark, right? Like, Serral has been considered to be the very best player in the world for, like, 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 years. Did I just... Okay, never mind. No, I did not. He's been the best in the world for, like, say, 6, 7 years. And, accidental 6-7. I apologize. He's always been in form, right? There hasn't really been a moment where he looked particularly weak or whatever, but not participating in tournaments for such an extended period of time does certainly raise some eyebrows, and it does make you wonder. For now, though, Ryung is looking solid here. He's going for the very... Ooh, Mutas here from Serral. He's going for the Hellion run-by attempt at the very least. Not really achieving it. Not really risking it either. But Serral going now into Mutaling Bane. Okay. Very different approach from what he's been playing for, like, the last... Well, 6, 7 years. Ever since he started being good. Like, this is not usually the way in which Serral opens up. He's a very macro-focused player. In this particular game, though, it looks like he wants to be the non-stop aggressor instead. You know, I actually just ran into some issues booting up StarCraft 2 for the first time in 2 weeks. My StarCraft didn't want to work. I had to reinstall the game for some reason. I don't really know why. I was a little bit concerned that for some reason nothing was working anymore. But hey, uninstalling and then reinstalling magically did the trick. I'm not exactly sure what changed in those 2 weeks' time, and that suddenly things weren't really making sense anymore. But let's see if this Hellion Cyclone push right now can break through. Serral did commit to a Zergling run-by as well. Blue Flame is only about a half minute away. Nice surround here with the Lynx. What about the fight at the front? Looks like Ryung has decided to retreat. Serral is looking good here, though. Bit of a different playstyle than what we normally see from him. It's a lot more in your face, a lot more aggressive. And it's certainly not going to slow down either. This fight, though, over here is still a bit sketchy. Ryung has a lot of good units. Blue Flame, of course, is a phenomenal upgrade against Ling Bane. Yeah, and as long as he is dancing in this choke point, it's going to be difficult for the Zerg to really clean this sort of thing up. He's also not really achieving too much, though, because he doesn't... Oh, hey, Jimmy. He doesn't really want to drive too deep onto creep. Roach Warren now for the Zerg. Okay, Mutas are flapping their little wings towards the left side of the map. There is one Viking as a spotter unit. Very important for Ryung that he sees this coming in. In the meantime, we have the Hellions and the Cyclones still dancing around. They need to be careful. Mutas actually, now that they have been spotted, decide to just retreat back home as well. And this is not going too well for Ryung whatsoever. I mean, I don't really love Mutaling Bane that much, but I think this is about the best case scenario for the Zerg, right? I mean, he's not really in a game-winning position or anything along those lines, but Ryung has been completely knocked back to his side of the map. Map control is no longer in his favor. I don't believe that... I mean, unless he gets maybe a few Thors out or a sufficient amount of Widow Mines, I don't believe he's going to be able to run through too well. Zergling run-by attempted again on the right as well, but that is going to be held. Hey, just like Jimmy. Looks like we have a cheeky little drone in the mix as well. Okay. So, new hatchery building in the far bottom left. 86, 85 workers here for Serral. Infestation pit on the back it is. Yeah, I think he's in firm control. From Ryung's point of view, right? So what have you seen so far? Well, he did notice the gold base. Nothing he can do about it. He does know that the Zerg's economy must be at least decent, but it's also been an aggressive opener. I think all he can really do is sit here and wait for the Mutas to come through. Well, maybe at least build a few missile turrets. But I think his main goal right now is to try and max out. My concern, though, with him maxing out is the fact that he's only got a single armory. More and more factories are coming. But you really want to do a timing attack, I think, as a Terran here with like 2-2 done. But if we're going to get 2-2 off of a single armory, it's going to take like another 15 minutes. And by then, Serral has gobbled up the whole map. So we can go for like an awkward maxed out attack. Yeah, maybe commit to more and more Cyclones, more and more Hellions. But now you're entering the territory of Zerg having fungal growth, maybe a couple of Vipers. Blinding Clouds are scary. Abductions are scary too. And all of those units just absolutely destroy the army that the Terran currently has. 3 SCVs go down. Really, though, just keeping the Terran player pinned at home is the main goal right now for Serral. Serral's upgrade's also not particularly great. It's a very complex build. So he's making the transition right now to like a Roach Ling Bane type of army, or at the very least some Ravagers into the mix. Neural Parasite is nice to have. I think he's probably going to add on Adrenal Glands, maybe a few Vipers, maybe a few Infestors. It's a very complicated way, though, of getting there. But as long as Serral arrives, I don't think he really cares too much about the road that he took. Yeah, it's a Ling Flood into Mutaling Bane, now into Roach Ravager Ling Bane. Soon to go into Infestors, and then probably some Vipers for support as well. I mean, we've basically taken all of the versions that Zerg has, all of the different tech routes, in about 12 minutes. Now, it's not lined up yet, though. Look at the long list of upgrades that Serral's still waiting for. If there ever was a time to push, I think it's right now. This is, I guess, when Zerg is still at its weakest. He's already setting up a surround, though. He's inviting the Terran player to be wrapped around by the Lings. Ryung is going to have to retreat once more. I'm not really enjoying the Terran's unit composition all too much here. It really needs to deal damage within the next minute, because otherwise it's going to fall off horribly. And I just don't have a ton of... Oh, it's a lot of Cyclones, though. Oh, Microbial Shroud? Okay. Serral's got something in the oven. I think he could just give up on his base, by the way. Like, his base really isn't that important. He's got something in the oven, but I'm not entirely sure what he's cooking up. More and more SCVs are dying. I guess as a revenge to those drones that are falling in the bottom left. Greater Spire in the mix as well. My god, he's getting everything. At this point, the only thing I haven't seen yet is something like Swarm Hosts. But, I mean, I guess we have no Hydra Lurker. That would be kind of ridiculous to get everything. But Serral has gone up and down the Zerg tech ladder in literally 12 minutes. Crazy. Maybe a little bit of first-person view. This is Serral's point of view whilst playing the match. Infestors added into the mix. Fungal growth to prevent a retreat would be amazing. Terran can, of course, lock on and then drive backwards. There is this hatchery on the far right. And even though the mining here was interrupted in the bottom left, it is going to continue for a little bit longer. 5th command center now for Ryung. I wonder if Ryung doesn't need to, like, doesn't he need to switch on over into something like Thors and Siege tanks by now? Maybe some Ghosts. We can transition into many things, but I think doubling down on just Cyclones, Hellions, and a few Widowmines? It feels like a early to mid-game unit composition, you know? Like, it's not really something that should carry him too well into the late game. But of course, transitioning right now for Terran is very straightforward. He's only, by the way, got +2 armor, so the +2 armor is nice for mass Cyclone builds. But if he ever plans... Oh, we're going extra starports here. If he ever plans on doing something else, I think the attack upgrade for the Terran Mech units is still useful. So far, though, Serral's looking pretty untouchable. Maybe finally some real damage can be dealt. I mean, already a hatchery fell on the right side. It's going to get cancelled a second time around. What about the Cyclones over here? Yeah, they will actually get the snipe here, too. Some fungal here on the right, though, is good. The Zorklings do get the wraparound. Terran is going to be forced back home. Yeah, that's the dust is settling now. We are arriving at Terran on 5 bases. And Zerg, likewise, also on just 5. Eh. 6th hatchery added into the mixed, likewise as well. So we have another Ling run by. More and more command centers added on right here for Ryung. I'm almost wondering if Serral's like overcomplicating it for himself a little bit, you know? Ooh, Neurals? Neurals? He does get some nice lock-ons here. And that does mean that Terran will have to run. He's corrosive biling his own Neural Cyclones. Okay. I think we've all been there, though, in any strategy game ever, right? When you come up with, like, a quote-unquote brilliant build that works really well on paper. Now, look at this. We have a late-game Banshee switch from Ryung. I love it. But you know when you come up with a build order that makes perfect sense in your head, and then when you actually try to execute, it just doesn't really make a ton of sense? It just doesn't really work out in a realistic game? That's kind of the vibes I'm getting here with Serral. I'm sure this is tried and tested, but we have done quite literally a little bit of everything. And historically, at least in StarCraft, the most successful build orders are the ones that are relatively simplistic. A lot of Infestors, though. Fungal growth, or do we go for the Neurals? I guess he goes for the Neurals with that scan going down. Okay. Next patch. Oh, that was kind of sexy. Next patch, Neural Parasite gets nerfed. No, stop. Stop, stop, stop. No. Circling run by here on the right. Oh, army hotkey backwards, it looks like here from Ryung. It feels like Ryung is getting outplayed in many ways, but he is ultimately arriving at a very strong late game. And while he's taken damage, none of it has been critical. He's lost, well, 38 SCVs. When you have this many command centers, though, it's very quick to replace, especially with mules. He did also dish out a reasonable amount of damage. 2 hatcheries go down. I think we already did see a few getting cancelled, too. Gold base has been denied by the Terran as well, so even though there was a bit of mining, now there's a Widow Mine preventing it from being taken yet again. What about the fungal, though, here? The fungal growth together with the Brute Lord combo. We had a few Banshees in the mix. Yeah, they're just doing a bit of damage. Fair enough. Corruptor should be able to make quick work of them. Hellion run by here down south as well. Or Hellbat run by, I guess I should say. More and more Cyclones trying to drive around. Ryung causing a lot of chaos right now. Mostly to buy time to get some real anti-air out. Big Daddy Thor on the horizon. Vikings also being produced. Only just now is when we continue the upgrades in the armory. That honestly is a pretty big oversight, I think, here. Those should have been going for a while longer already. Serral's been much more on top of it, but look at all the upgrades he's getting, right? So at this point, he's got +3 melee, +2 missile, +1 carapace for his ground units. It's very odd. We normally don't see those units or those upgrades taken in that order. Okay. One problem actually that Ryung is going to run into now is that he needs to take another base. The only viable location is this one. Everything else is too far away. Zerg, though, is going to have very good units to push those expansions back with, and we may have loads of command centers. The problem is, yeah, just keeping alive. Taking new bases is something that is not really a focus for Ryung right now, but I think he's going to need it to be one, because, well, his 4th is running low, his 3rd is running low. We have this low ground base that's still looking pretty decent. But how in the world do you expand right now here as the Terran? I mean, Zerg is still going to pop up a couple of hatcheries here and there. It's not like Serral's super rich, but he's mining off of 90 workers. Up to about 10,000 resources in the bank. He can do this all day. And I think that's exactly the plan. He wants to continue going. It's only a handful of Brute Lords. 6 Brutes, 9 Infestors. And then a whole lot of Ravager Ling Bane. Keep in mind that there are no Corruptors in the mix, though. So Vikings alone are actually super scary. I love the anti-armor missile here. So many SCVs are dying, though, with another Zergling run by. We, in the meantime, also have a push down south, taking down Serral's 3rd hatchery. I think it's working here for Serral in the end. One of the most complex games of StarCraft I've ever seen a Zerg player play. So much APM required, and I really do believe that this is almost more complex than it needs to be. But I mean, a win is ultimately going to be a win here for the finisher. The problem here for Ryung, I mean, he's still looking scary, but he just doesn't have the money. Serral's going to be able to reinforce this over and over and over again. His only bottleneck really is the amount of time it takes for those new cocoons to spawn. He still has 12,000 resources in the bank. Ryung is flat broke with 130 supply. Keep in mind that this game started off with a Ling Rush. How strange. If you are the Terran in this instance, right, you look at that Ling Rush and you wonder, okay, so we're cheesing? Like, are we... I just need to defend, right? I mean, as long as I max out eventually, it'll probably work out. New Ravens added into the mix right now for Ryung. That's not really the unit he wants to make, but because he has so much gas, he's decided, okay, I guess this is what we produce. Kind of like a Protoss player making mass Archon in the late game. Sometimes you just arrive in a situation where you have too much Vespene, and I don't think Ravens are bad, don't get me wrong. But they're hardly the unit he needs right now. Man. Serral making Infestors look pretty OP. Crazy. Now +3 armor starts up for the Zerg. Building armor. Okay. Don't think that's really what we need, Ryung. This is a crazy expense to be having at this point in time. Building armor is gotta give all these structures a little bit more beefiness, I suppose, but I highly doubt that is gonna make all the difference here. Okay, so that's the interference matrix upgrade. That is the upgrade that allows the Ravens to temporarily disable other units. So I guess you can use interference matrix on Infestors? Maybe on Brute Lords? I mean, you're gonna have to be quick. Obviously, they're detectors as well. So many Cyclones have died, by the way, due to the Neural Parasite. Yeah, if Serral keeps going like this, I think there's about a 20% chance that whatever patch we get in the future, now the Infestor is gonna get nerfed. Thanks, Serral. Jeez. Corrosive Balls over here to prevent that base. Ryung desperately trying to re-max out again. He's rebuilding SCVs, though, doing a good job. Serral, though, is almost playing with his food right now. He doesn't want to overextend, I suppose, but he's gonna force his way up this high ground eventually. Neural Parasites are, well, available for all of these beefy units. We do indeed see interference matrices used on some of the Infestors, but there were so many Infestors, and now half the Terran army has switched side. Neural Parasite on Thor. When's the last time you've seen that? GG. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Winter Madness. Really? Okay. So Ryung decides to open up with a good old proxy barracks build. What's kind of ironic is that if Serral would open up with a pool first, like he did in the previous game, it's not what he's doing, he's going for a hatchery first. But if he would open up quick Zergling speed, for obvious reasons, that's phenomenal for the Zerg. Like this particular blind build that Ryung is going for may actually be what Serral was trying to hard counter in the previous game, I wonder. But anyways, it would get absolutely demolished by the build that Serral played in game number 1. And this is yet again a scoutless build from the Terran. A little bit risky, a little bit brave, but I think it'll be okay. I guess we'll get a nice update as to how a Zerg is supposed to manage this. Hatch gas pool here for the finisher. SCV scout right now going straight through the middle. That is just to tell this overlord that everything's okay. That nothing here needs to be concerned with. Serral's not gonna continue scouting with his second overlord. He gets confirmation. Now he knows though, okay, wait a second. This was indeed not just a regular SCV scout. Instead, we're gonna have to pull the boys. Bunker rush right here from Ryung. Spinecrawler immediately comes up. We have some Zerglings on the production tab too. Zergling speed, though, is nowhere to be seen. So the drones themselves need to be fighting. Okay, one of the bunkers is running dangerously low. Fair enough. He does break through this full wall off here, or at the very least... Yeah, I don't think it was entirely full yet. What about the Marines, though? They get surrounded, and while 6 drones have died thus far... Ooh, mineral walking again. He's trying to drone drill. 6 workers have died so far here on the side of the Zerg. 2 SCVs died. Spinecrawler is nearly done. I think that was totally okay for Serral. 7 drones, though, is more than you want to be losing. He needs to go straight back to worker production just to be even with the Terran. Now, keep in mind, Terran does not have a second base on the back of this. So, any sort of skirmishes like this are going to be massively beneficial for Serral. Yep, he's going to have to Spinecrawler. Pumping Marines out of 2 Rexes at a time. I don't think this is really going to be something that Ryung can continue with. Maybe if you have like a triple Rex, you could actually continue and maybe try to break through these spines at some point, but this is a bit of a disaster. The Zergling's now awaiting the high ground. He doesn't want to jump him. Ha! Triple command center on the back it is. I love the Korean Terrans, man. So this is a proxy 2 Rex. That doesn't really work out too well. And then Ryung's next step in the master plan is to assume that Serral's just gonna play the macro game off of this. And that therefore he can go for a triple CC build. He doesn't have a single attacking unit inside of his main base. There's no bunker. He's going double gas. Look at the greed. These barracks are now flying around the map. They will make their way back home. But there's like a good few minutes where all that Ryung is building here is just infrastructure. Like we have nothing. Imagine if this was a Baneling bust. Or a Roach Warren. Or even a quick Muta build. Terran would be in a world of trouble. Yet again, though, that predictability, right, that Serral has is gonna work against him. Yeah, maybe that's what he tried to work with in that previous game a little bit. Right? Be a little bit more out in the open. Go for something a little bit more aggressive. But I think Ryung is gonna be able to get away with it, and this does put him back in the game. He's basically accepting the fact that, okay, if this is going to be an attack from the Zerg, GG, series over, whatever. But likewise, if I tried to play this middle-of-the-road approach with Terran, the odds of me being able to win in the long run are basically 0, so I'll have to try and risk it at least a little bit. Command center goes to the low ground. We're still on just Marines. There's 7. 7 Marines. No bunker, no nothing. Not even a wall off anymore now with the command center down. Serral is trying to get a scout off. He must realize at this point, okay, if I literally made 20 lings, this game is over. If I did anything aggressive, this game would be done. Not going to happen. Well, we do have a different playstyle, though, from the Terran this time around. Double engineering bay upgrades here for Ryung, so no Terran Mech. We have triple Rex here. We'll probably go into Stimpack with, yep, the 100 gas available. This is likely going to get a little tech lab as well to start up the combat shields. And we'll just start pumping out the men with gun. Okay. In the meantime, we've got ourselves a lair coming up together with a Baneling nest. Baneling nest just for a very conventional Baneling speed follow-up, it seems. I wouldn't be surprised to just see full saturation on 3 bases here for Serral in a moment. I honestly dislike this amount of links that he made. I think it's a... yeah, it's not going to do anything. He's just losing most of them. Not too shabby. For the Terran, that is. Likewise, though, and that's obviously the tricky thing about this game, right? Yes, maybe Serral could have been aggressive, but also, this is still fine. Like, it's not necessarily the end of the game here for the Zerg. I think he's still ahead. But I think occasionally mixing in a little bit more aggression is gonna make the opponents... yeah, assume that you're a slightly less greedy player. Greedy as far as economy goes. All right, +1 armor, second NG or second Evo chamber, 4th hatchery, Baneling speed. I think we're just going to go into a hive. Maybe into Ultras or something like that eventually. But yeah, we're just playing the big macro game. I can't believe Ryung is totally in this now. You know what I also like about Ryung? This is something that doesn't get highlighted enough. Maru does this, but Ryung, I mean, that's usually the player that Maru gets his strategies from. Ryung also likes to build aesthetically pleasing bases. I think you should get bonus points on your units or something, man. Like, maybe make your Marines deal +1 damage when your base looks pretty. Look at this. We have a beautiful straight line over here. Even like, there's this nice little divot at the bottom of the map, like, in the main base, right? And where the engineering base are... it's good. It does look nice. Maybe an extra supply depot over here to, like, complete the crescent moon-shaped... okay, maybe I'm looking into this a little bit too much. 4th command center coming up. Infestation pit in the meantime inside of the 3rd base of the Zerg. Yeah, 1-1 here for Serral. And look at the supply count now. Look at the worker count. Look at the upgrades. Does this look like a Terran player that had a pretty mediocre early game. Maybe the Banelings, though, can, well, change the tide of this match a little bit. Wouldn't have minded if Serral decided to commit a little bit more, but again, playing it super safe. The big lead right now that I think Ryung has is these upgrades. The upgrades are just going to make all the difference. A big attack. Now, this is dangerous. Oh, no. Okay, he decides to fly them away. There's more and more Banes burrowed everywhere, but... Okay. Not really getting lucky. What about this run by over at the third, though? A couple of SCVs get bruised. But nothing really takes a lot of damage. I think a +2/+2 timing attack for the Terran is a great idea. He's pumping out 10 Marines at once. A lot of supply depots are going to fall. That's nice, I guess, for the Zerg, but... Yeah, hatchery will die over here. No cancel? Nope, no cancel. Serral did not have it activated in time. Did not have it selected in time. Pesky Zerglings here. Making it difficult for the Terran to continue playing, but... I honestly don't mind any of this for Terran. I don't mind this at all for Ryung. We've seen a lot of Zerg players lately focus on either Banelings or Infestors. Looks like Serral is yet again going for both. So fungal growth onto the Terran units. And then rolling in with the Banes. Yeah, this playstyle looks very similar, actually. Like, these two games all look very similar to what Maru would do as well in a game of StarCraft, right? It's nice to see. So Maru and Ryung, from what I understand, are very good friends. And usually it is Ryung that comes up with the build orders. Ryung that comes up with the strategies. And Maru that wins like $1.5 million worth of tournament earnings. Unlucky. Unlucky. But yeah, it's there's no denying that the strategies that Maru usually goes for are at the very least partly fungal. Partly invented by Ryung. Ultra Cavern right now. Adrenal Glands, 2/2. Yeah, Serral's fine. I mean, obviously, always. Every StarCraft and or every strategy, rather, in StarCraft 2 is never really invented by one person so much, I suppose, right? We do get a nice fungal over here. Banelings now do connect. It's always going to be a community effort, I suppose. Ooh, another fungal, man. That fungal growth also forced that Widowmine to deal so much friendly fire. It could also just be that, like, maybe Ryung sees other Terran players playing it, right? And he's decided, you know what? I'll go ahead and give it a shot myself. See how it goes. And it's the continuous refinement that does really make or break a game or a strategy. Ryung, though, running into some issues here, right? Like, he's just not able to really get his feet under him. This is all because of Serral's phenomenal macro. There is a nice little counterattack here on the left, but not enough Marines to really put in damage. Banelings are now hunting down the mineral line yet again. Panic on the side of the Terran. Planetary Fortress, though, is gonna keep this alive. Okay. So, the real strength here for the Zerg is gonna be in about a minute from now. When the chitinous plating upgrade for the Ultralisks is done, the Ultralisks have popped out of their cocoons. And then as soon as 3-3 is finished as well, it's going to be a major power spike for the Terran, or for the Zerg rather. And for the Terran to deal with it, you really need either Ghosts or Liberators. Ryung doesn't have either of them. I think he could have had maybe at least one, possibly both. I wonder if he could have been a little bit greedier in that department. He has now seen the Ultras, though, and rather than making a switch, he's doubling down to Mass Marauder. Is it the right thing to do? I think the Ultras are just going to start chomping. Like, we are one fungal growth away from this game being over. Serral has all the economy in the world. And while the Marine Marauder medevac ball can micro, it can kite, it can stutter step. Until you get fungal to the face, Terran's probably gonna be fine, but I'm a little bit afraid. I mean, you could push into this base right now as the Zerg. Serral, though, being Serral. Still, if you look at the work account, right? If you look at the resources, if you look at the upgrades, is this a bad spot for Ryung? I don't really know why he's doubling down on mass Marine Marauder medevac. Look at this, actually. We're not even going into any sort of ghosts. Wait a second. Ryung is making the conscious choice to go to 11 barracks, more and more command centers, but he's not going into ghosts or liberators. So he's gonna play mass Marine Marauder. 11 barracks is 3 more than what we normally see. I can't make my... I don't know. Is this stupid or is it smart? There's a very fine line in StarCraft between brilliant strategies and dumb strategies. Maybe he's afraid of ghosts. Maybe every night, every evening when he lays down in bed, or in pro gamer life, it's probably like every 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't know. Maybe he looks under his bed and he checks whether or not there's ghosts, and then he thinks to himself, well, maybe they're cloaked. Maybe Nova is right there right now. What would you do if Nova's under your bed? Ugh, no. No. Anyways. Yeah, no Liberators either, though, is a bit funky. Should you not be making that switch? What if Zerg just doubles down on more Ultras? This base is going to be super dead. I love the, the cheeky little move of putting the SCVs inside of the command center for a moment. "90 workers, though. He did kill a hatchery up north. Those drones are gonna find another mineral line to mine in a moment. Creep spread not actually that great here for Serral. Yeah, Ryung is going to be able to pump out a ridiculous amount of units really quickly. He's basically playing Zerg as a Terran, you know? Like, he's flooding the map with, like, the Terran equivalent of Ling Bane. And he can remax it real quickly. Another fungal, though, and this is what I'm worried for. Yeah, you have a lot of damage output. Yeah, in straight-up fight, the Ultras are extremely kiteable. But if you get fungaled, then you have nowhere to run. More and more Marines, though, get queued up immediately. 6 and then 9 of them. Not bad. More and more Ultras, though, chomping away at all the command centers. Still, the amount of damage out of this Terran army is remarkable. Ryung is still in this. He's setting up a new command center right over here. Serral needs a moment to reproduce and to breathe. So, new Banelings are coming. Okay. Apparently, what we need to do now is take literally everything. Just take the entire map. Try to get that drone mining going yet again. Banelings feel kind of useless now, right? I mean, what are Banelings doing? They're rolling into Marauders. I guess as long as the Marine count is reasonably high, it's not bad to have some of them in the mix. But I think this is honestly too many Banes. Unless we want to go and blow up planetaries. Maybe that's exactly what we want to go ahead and do. Let's see. SCVs and planetaries. Yep. That's why they were made. Instant remaxing right now as well here from the Zerg. Straight into a whole lot of troops. Okay. We've already got another building done. The spire here is finished. I guess we can go into some... Yeah, I think Serral's probably wondering as well if Liberators are coming, if Ghosts are coming. I guess he's prepared to start countering either of them. But as long as Ryung isn't showing any of them, there's no need to go into Corruptors. I always like the idea of adding on like maybe 5 of them. Just to start chipping away at those medevacs. Another fungal. A couple of units get caught. Ultras coming in from the side as well. It is an absolute bloodbath. Serral's wondering why this Terran player won't just roll over and die. Can't believe it. More and more Marauders, man. And look at the Ultras. The Ultras are doing nothing here. Ryung breaks through. He's going to be able to get another base kill easy, but he wants more. He's chasing down the units. What about the fight on the right? Well, you do need to be looking at the units. No way you're going to be able to win an engagement against Zerg if you're not kiting. And same can be said for these troops right over here. Hatchery does fall. Ultras over here are going to get taken care of eventually, I would imagine. Now it's Serral who is once more on the hunt. New planetary fortress set up over here at the 6 o'clock position. Not a lot of resources available, though, for the Zerg, as he decides to back up. Is this the style you should actually be playing as a Terran? You know, a lot of Terrans get caught in that, like, midway transition to, like, Liberators and Ghosts. Right? When you try to make that transition to proper late game as a Terran, it's the scariest moment by far. But I think at the very least, if you're a ladder hero, your main takeaway is that maybe you should just add on 11 barracks in total. 11 barracks, pure Marine Marauder medevac. Maybe it won't work out in this case for Ryung against Serral, but I highly doubt that most of us are facing Serral on the ladder. I've actually never lost a game against Serral on the ladder. Fun fact. Never lost against Serral on the ladder. Actually, I've never lost against Serral, period. Yeah? Yeah? What about Brute Lords? Would Brute Lords be any good? Another hatchery does fall. I guess Brute Lords are probably a little bit too slow. And I guess, from the Zerg's point of view right now, right? If you're thinking about this game, like, I think it's... As long as Terran doesn't get too many bases out, it's okay. Like, effectively, what Serral's game plan is now is to allow Terran 5 bases, and no more than that. And as long as he's got, like, 6, maybe 7 of them... Oh, God. Immediately lose my train of thought. As long as he's got more, it's gonna be okay for him. Little Zergling run by here yet again. Ultra set up to try and take care of the 16 SCVs and the planetary on the right side of the map. And while sure, we've seen hatcheries die, there has always been more mining for the Zerg player than there has been for the Terran. It's another 2 bases though. Okay, another hatchery as well. What about this hatchery over here? There is still an expansion in the far bottom left though. Ryung now down to 14 SCVs. His army is still comparable to Serral's, but I don't think he's going to be able to win in the long run. He needs to effectively win with the units that he's got right here, right now. And I think it's going to be very difficult to fight the Zerg on creep. Fighting the Zerg off creep seems pretty much impossible. Another massive fungal. It's an absolute disaster here for Ryung. GG gets called. And ultimately, it is going to be the finisher who obtains the victory here. That was fun. Yeah, it was really good to see some Serral games yet again. That first game was complex. I'm not gonna lie. I think that first game was more complex than it honestly needed to be. Especially from the Zerg's point of view. Like, Ryung was effectively just massing Cyclones and Hellions, and eventually he had to make some switches, but Serral seemed to be climbing the Zerg tech route all the way up and down, and then sideways as well when he transitioned into Banelings and Roaches, and then he went all the way to Brute Lords. It was a bit of a messy game. I think strategically it may have been sound, but there's so many ways in which that could go horribly wrong. The second game, though, definitely not a bad one either. The fact that Ryung actually managed to make a game out of a failed double Rex proxy is impressive all on its own. And while he did run short in the very end, he still played very well. GG.